Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. For this episode, I'm going to be digging back into my demo collection. Haven't done that in quite a while. Usually I focus on, CDs, singles, LPs, and such. But I do have a lot of old stuff from demo cassettes as well. Now, to be clear, I don't collect old demo cassettes, and I never really did. At most, I might have had as many as 50 original demos at some point. It was probably less than that. But I kind of got out of cassettes a long time ago. It's just not a format I enjoy. I don't like the idea of paying lots for rare demo tapes and then hitting the play button and having the equipment immediately destroy the thing that you just bought. Say what you will about vinyl and CDs. Um, as long as you've got a halfway decent needle, you're not going to poke a hole in your vinyl. And the laser has never burned a hole through any of my discs. So I'll stick to those formats. I know a lot of folks like cassettes. That's absolutely fine. You do you, but yeah, cassette's just not the way for me. But I do have a lot of stuff that was on demo cassettes from back in the day with CDR trading. And a lot of stuff used to be available online through different like Blogspot entries and such. This would have been like, in the later 2000s, early 2010s. And so, yeah, I used to play that stuff quite a bit. In recent years, I've just focused more on, the CD and record collection. But I do have a ton of stuff on MP3, and a lot of it is by really cool bands that never got to the stage where they released any physical product besides that demo cassette. So I figured it'd be cool to dig into those a little bit and play a few clips, highlight a few bands. Now, sound quality is going to be a bit of an issue with some of these. These were old cassette tapes that were converted over to MP3s once upon a time. So, yeah, the sound's not going to be necessarily great on all these. But if you can listen through the limitations of the format, I think you'll hear that there is some really cool music from these bands that deserves to be heard by a wider audience. All right, I think that's all the sort of caveats out of the way. So, our first entry up tonight is going to be a band from Orange, California named Outlander. They released one demo in 1990, three songs, and we'll check it out. Now, since I don't have the original demo cassettes on all of this, I'll just pull some stuff up on Metal Archives to show as we hear some clips. Track number one from the Outlander demo is called The Reckoning. And let's get that started up right now. All right. So yeah, right away you get a sense that this band is operating in the same territory that Sanctuary operated. The vocalist is doing his best to impersonate Warrell Dane and doing a pretty damn good job of it. He seems to have the pipes to really sing in that register pretty nicely. Music's very tight, energetic. You can imagine that Refuge Denied had to be a pretty big influence on this band. But hey, Sanctuary only made two albums before morphing into Nevermore, and not a lot of bands have ever been able to recapture that original Sanctuary sound. So here you are with a band from Orange, California, doing a pretty good job of it. As I mentioned, they only made the one demo, and Metal Archives has a picture of the J card, so let's pull that up. It looks like sort of like maybe a wizard with is that a cello? It's too big to be a violin. We'll go with cello. He's playing some kind of stringed instrument with a bow on the cover. Um, Sadly, this band has not gotten the anthology treatment from any label. It'd be an excellent target for a label like No Remorse or Arcane Steel to try to track down one of the band members, see if they have extra songs that they could add, and do a nice CD release of. Let's do one more clip from Outlander before we move on. This will be from the third track, which is called Final Day. Yeah, so again, really, just like Sanctuary, kind of on that border between US power metal, but some thrashy chops and riffage thrown in there as well. It's an excellent demo. I'm not going to play a clip from song two, which is called Coma. That one's a little bit longer, has more of an epic structure, but it's still very, very well done. This is an outstanding top-notch demo of US heavy metal from 1990. The band even had a cool name, Outlander. Metal Archives does note that there was a band called Outlander in Colorado around the same time. So you had two Outlanders out west. There's no entry or recordings listed for the Colorado Outlander, but the California one at least got this one really killer demo tape out back in the day. All right, let's move on to band number two. This is going to be a band from Oklahoma City. Not a place you think of as the metal hub, but there was some activity there in the mid and late 80s. This band is called Legioned Marcher, and they did a two-song demo in 1987. I'll play clips of both tracks before talking about them a little bit. Song number one on the Legioned Marcher demo is called Under Fire. All right, so yeah, another band with kind of a higher vocalist, very forceful, moving sound, not speed metal, but pretty fast and aggressive by US power metal standards, and very, very tight sounding. The band's got some serious chops, and those are shown off even better on track number two, which is called Praise Thunder. Let's check out a clip of that one before we chat about the band a little. Yeah, fantastic song. Great chorus, great vocal melodies there. Um, Outstanding gem of a track and of a demo. So yes, Legion Marcher from Oklahoma City. What do we know about them? Well, there's a little more to report here than there was for Outlander. Legion Marchers, some of the members were featured in other bands. Oklahoma City had a few bands that played this style of power metal in the late 80s into the early 90s. So yeah, Legion Marcher would share members with the band Power Lord. They made a well-regarded LP in that time frame. And they also shared members. Some of these guys went on to be in the band Forte. Forte is probably the most visible of those Oklahoma City area bands. They released a couple of albums on the Massacre label in the early to mid 90s. And I think they're still active. They're not a band I've kept up with over time, so I only know a couple of the early albums. I thought Legion Marcher also had a connection to Oliver Magnum, who put out an outstanding album from the Oklahoma scene in the latest 80s, early 90s. That connection is not listed under the members tab for anything on Legion Marcher, so I'm not sure. Maybe I was mixing that up with one of the other bands, or maybe it's just not listed. Metal Archives doesn't know everything. Great site, great resource, but yeah, there's not everything on there. The one member who's probably best known from Legion Marcher is this guy, Reverend Jones. This is his profile picture on Metal Archives. He has played with a lot of different bands over the years, including like Michael Schenker. He was with Forte. There's at least one or two other relatively well-known folks he's played live with. Checking the list here quickly because I don't remember all his credentials. They have a list in for him playing live with Steelheart. I don't know if that's the Steelheart that did the, Angel Eyes song as a hair metal band back in the day. But if so, he played bass for them much later on, and it looks like it was just a live thing. He also played live with Gamacide out of Texas. So yeah, he's had some success over the years. Now, the second piece of artwork that I was showing for the band, this is the cover of an anthology that came out. So this band has gotten the anthology treatment thanks to Arcane Steel, good Greek label that's been doing these kind of anthologies. Arcane Steel is really good at finding these bands from the US scene that only had cassette releases, whether it was a demo or a cassette only album. And again, they really sort of zero in on like late 80s and all through the 1990s scene. This only came out in 2021. I hadn't seen it before, so I was like, ooh, yeah, I need a copy of that. However, there's something to note about this anthology before you rush off and try to order a copy like I almost did. First, there's only 6 songs on it for a total running time of 30 minutes, so it's pretty short. And the track list, well, here's the track list. The first 2 songs are the ones we just heard clips from, Praise Thunder and Under Fire. Great songs. That's how you want the anthology to start. And by the way, I've got to say, fun trivia fact. The song Praise Thunder is where the Oklahoma City Thunder, the NBA team for Oklahoma, got their name. Except it's not. I so wish that was true, but it's completely not true. Anyway, the anthology starts with the 2 songs from the demo, but then you have 4 live songs. So again, only 6 songs. 4 of them are going to be live. Tracks 3 and 4 are live versions of Praise Thunder and Under Fire. So the same songs repeated, just live takes. Track number 6 is an instrumental. It's a long instrumental based on the runtime, but still just an instrumental. So in a way, you only get one sort of unreleased song. Track 5 is called Coming of the Storm, and it's a live version. So yeah, the track list, there's not a whole lot here. You want to get the 2 demo tracks. You want to get live versions of the 2 demo tracks, an instrumental, and one extra song. So factor that in before you decide to track down a copy. The Arcane Steel CDs can be a little hard to come by. They don't get a lot of distribution in the US, so they can be a little pricey sometimes. Uh, I really kind of want this, but I like when I looked around, I only found like one distro had it and it was over $20. I'm just like, I don't want to pay 20 some dollars for a 6 song CD where most of it's live stuff. Yeah, annoying. I may break down and order it anyway. We'll see. Because those demo tracks are outstanding. So yeah, very cool band. I'm glad they got the anthology treatment. And to be fair, this is not a reflection on Arcane Steel. They have to work with whatever material the bands have available, and Legion Marcher just doesn't have a lot available. They do mention the little blurb on the homepage for them on Metal Archives. It mentions that they had, several other songs. So there was a full set list, but a lot of them just never got recorded. They mentioned some song titles like Soldier of Fortune, Shoot to Kill, Revelation, Legion Marcher. So yeah, it's not like the band only made two or three songs. They had a full set list to play live, but sadly, I'm guessing just none of those have any usable versions on tape anywhere. If they had, they probably would have been on the Arcane Steel disc. All right, we have one last band to check out. This time we're going to San Antonio. So a lot of Western US metal today, but nothing wrong with that at all. This is a band called Narita. And yes, you've heard that name before. They take their name from the second Riot album. More on that later. But first, let's check out some clips. Going to start with the first song on this demo from 1985, which is called The Feeling Is Gone. There's going to be a funny little voiceover a few seconds into this, and we'll circle back to that after we hear some music. But first, let's check out The Feeling Is Gone by Narita.
This is Narita on Kiss.
All right, so the feeling is gone. This one's, obviously the keyboards have more of a presence there. It's got maybe a little bit more sort of a pomp sound to it, but while it's accessible, still a pretty cool and relatively heavy tune. Before I talk about the band, let's also check out a clip of song number 2. This one is called Liar. I'll probably jump into the middle of this track. So here's Liar from Narita's 1985 demo. All right, so there's a little bit of Liar. Keyboard's less present on that song, so yeah, it feels slightly heavier. Same overall style, though. Both very good songs. So what's up with the voiceover at the beginning, and who were Narita? Uh, Folks who really know their stuff, every single person in this picture should look familiar. Because Narita was basically Mark Reale's attempt at a follow-up band to Riot. Mark Raleigh is the one right over here. That's Mark. So yeah, after Made in America came out around 83, 84, Riot lost their label, the band kind of fell apart, and Mark ended up spending a lot of time in San Antonio. San Antonio had been kind of a stronghold for Riot support. They got a lot of radio play early in the 80s. A local DJ had kind of, championed the band. So yeah, Riot always drew really big when they played live around San Antonio, and Mark really liked the area. So with Riot kind of done and done, it seemed, he ended up spending a lot of time down there and jamming with some local musicians that he knew. Who are the guys that you see in the picture? Those other bands are, well, most of local San Antonio band Slayer, better known as SA Slayer or San Antonio Slayer, because it turns out somebody else was already using the name Slayer. But yeah, this is Mark with three guys from Slayer. So standing next to Mark here is Don Van Stavern, who of course eventually would join Mark when he rebooted Riot several years later. And Don plays in Riot 5 to this day. I think he's may have stepped away for an album or two. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, he's been a mainstay in Riot since the late 80s. Next up is Steve Cooper, vocalist for SA Slayer. Very distinctive voice, has that high voice, really good. Always liked his voice. And over here on the side is Dan McLean, who most folks will know much better from his time in Sacred Reich and Machine Head. I've always heard McLean doesn't really like to discuss, the stuff he did back around the Slayer days and stuff. This picture might kind of explain why. That's a very different look than what he went for later on. But hey, we all looked kind of goofy back in the 80s, so no real harm done there. But yeah, this was basically Mark's project of, jamming and possibly getting something going with these guys after Riot was apparently done. Mark supposedly originally wanted to call this the Mark Reali Project, and thank whatever gods you worship that that name got ditched really fast. I've never known what the fascination with the name Narita was. I mean, it's a location in Japan, but why was it the name of the second Riot album, and why did he use it for his almost follow-up band? I can't tell you. The other thing that's kind of interesting from those clips I played, there was that little voiceover at the beginning of The Feeling Is Gone, where I said, this is Narita on Kiss. What the heck's with that? Well, I'm almost certain that means the song was being recorded from a radio broadcast done by San Antonio rock station 99.5 Kiss FM. It all fits perfectly with the band being in that area, the local radio station giving them a lot of support, and that's, Kiss is the sign, the call sign for the rock station 99.5 in San Antonio. Why is that included on the demo? I don't know. I mean, they had the recording of the song to give to the radio station to play, but why does my MP3 copy sound like it was basically recorded off the radio? I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe they played the whole demo. You could do that kind of thing back then for radio stations for small local bands. So maybe that's where my recording originates from. I do not know. There's one last thing to feature. There's a third track on here, and it's one that folks might recognize because Don Van Stavern is not the only thing that Mark Raleigh took with him when he went back to New York and got Riot going again. He also took this little gem of a song, but here it is with a different lineup playing it in 1985. Here's Narita's early version of Thundersteel. Yeah, now how cool is that? Different band, different lineup, different everything, but doing Thundersteel 3 years before the album would get released under the reformed Riot. So yeah, if people ever claim that, late 80s Riot was Mark Raleigh trying to like, hop on to the new power metal craze that was, starting in Germany or anything like that. No, no, it wasn't. He already had that song fully written and in the can. Well, at least in a can, with Narita back in 1985. So pretty awesome to have that recorded. And that's the fun thing about demos. You can find all kinds of goofy little things, little hidden gems, songs that got reworked later when a guy went on to a different band. Uh, had to maybe change the title, change some structures around, but you can hear those early versions sometimes. That is going to do it for this video. So now let's talk metal in the comments down below. What do you think of these particular demos? Hopefully you have enjoyed them. What are some of your favorite bands that never really made it past the demo stage? As I said, it's been a long time since I've done a video featuring demos. I'm hoping that I'll be able to dig into my MP3 stash and pull some more of these cool things up to share with y'all in future videos. Because, yeah, some bands, there's a reason they didn't make it past the demo stage. They just didn't have the talent to do so. But for a lot of other bands, as we've heard on these examples in this video, there's some fantastic music that never made it out of the demo stage. There's a thousand different reasons that bands just don't make it any further in their career, but that doesn't mean that some of them didn't have some awesome music that we can enjoy. All right. So until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.